Greetings, Earthlings. It's Uncle Makara. Welcome back to the channel. Today we're talking all about the 3 spiritual traps. This is mentioned by Richard Rudd in the book Gene Keys, okay? And I think it's a very, very powerful topic. And if anything comes up for me as far as spiritual traps go, I'm gonna try to mention my perspective from the best of my abilities. Of course, if you're like me, you might be a long-term practitioner of spirituality, looking and reading and consuming a lot of information, but then kind of getting scattered and lost in your own process. This is why myself, along with my business partner, have invented PRIMAL Sutra to stop that information and all the jargons and all the, archangels and light codes and all that stuff. We simplify it down into something tangible, graspable, and applicable. So the first one that Richard Rudd mentions is you just stick to one spiritual teaching for the rest of your life, okay? You don't venture outside of that teaching. You think that that teaching is the end-all be-all of all teachings. Well, this is one spiritual trap because it doesn't allow you to learn or unfold or maybe drop your ego or barriers or dogmas that are in your mind. Right, you have basically created your entire worldview around this one understanding of spirituality or God or the universe or whatever religion you might be a part of, but you haven't ventured outside of that community. Maybe you haven't even spoken to other people from different walks of life. So what this really does is, the reason why it's a trap is because no teaching is the end-all be-all. A lot of people get stubborn. Okay, they get stubborn that this is the right way of doing this. There's no other way. When people tell me there's no other way to get to heaven besides what they're offering me, okay, and why am I supposed to listen to them randomly? What are they an expert in? Is there some level of expertise in their spirituality? Have they gone through life, right? This is somebody else's subjective experience, and you're supposed to morph your personal spiritual evolution to theirs, right? They can just be the Sherpa, the signpost, the guide for you, okay? That brings me to the second myth that he mentions, which is, entrusting everything on the spiritual teacher. There's a certain kind of magnetism that comes from a spiritual teacher, okay? You feel very safe, you feel connected, you feel warm, you feel inspired, you feel all of these different things, okay? You feel grounded. If you're looking at this spiritual teacher as all-knowing and you start confusing them for the all-knowing, that is when the problems start to happen and you get into a spiritual trap. And you get into this trap of attachment towards having someone in the physical world be your reminder or anchor of your own spiritual teaching. So it's actually kind of an ego trap, right? And I would go to say that spirituality can be used as bypassing. Spirituality can be used as an escape. Spirituality can be used to not face reality, okay? So this is a very, very key topic and powerful topic because not a lot of people want to talk about these things, right? Everyone wants to talk about the spiritual expanders and all this stuff, but there's also a lot of pitfalls and mistakes a lot of people can make, okay? And again, this is purely from my own experiences, for what I'm speaking about according to these 3 myths, according to Richard. Let's recap. So number 1, we have the spiritual teaching being the holy grail of everything, and you never venturing outside the boundaries of that teaching. Number 2, the magnetism of a spiritual teacher or guru, and you entrusting everything in them, putting all your, everything into that, and almost losing a sense of your own individuality, right? Losing so much of yourself that your ego merges with their ego, and you kind of stop being the main character. You get what I mean? Like, you entrust another's individual with your well-being. You're saying that I'm not good enough, but around you I'm good enough. So it's kind of like a codependent relationship with the guru or a spiritual teacher, a master, right? It's a very flawed dynamic, because ultimately you are your own spiritual teacher, you are your mentor, you are your own guru. So you got to start to understand that I actually hold those mystical tools and powers, and this is what we empower you to think like at Primal Sutra, because that allows you to adapt and weave easier in this world, actually. Okay? And of course, the third one is you become a spiritual tourist. Okay? You never really decide on what to hold on to on the spiritual journey. There's learning things and letting them go, learning things and letting them go, right? I think this is one of the major traps that a lot of us have, okay? We're treating this thing like a buffet where we get to try a little bit of everything without actually incorporating, embodying that information, right? Integrating that information into our regular lives so that our characters keep evolving and changing. Rather, if you're a spiritual tourist, you're like, oh man, Buddhism is so cool, I might as well, dabble a little bit here, and oh yeah, Hinduism is also great, and let me take a little bit from here and take a little bit from there, and and I started off like this on my journey until I started getting very clear about what is my theme of my spiritual practice in my life, right? Where is the direction of my focus and my purpose? And once I have that, I can concretely, it's almost like knowing the theme of a movie, right? Once you know the theme of a movie, you know the genre, you can then decide like who to cast in the movie, you can decide the setting and the rest, okay? The type of lighting that you want. You got to understand what your theme is, and then from your theme, everything else starts to flow. And that's what I've really understood through this journey. Oftentimes, and this is what has happened with me, is I've tried a lot of shit, man, okay? I've tried a lot of different things, different courses, breathwork facilitations, okay? Random biohacking things that I've read and tried, I've done plant medicine as well, but I have yet to do some other ones. And all that stuff is actually, it's fantastic, don't get me wrong. Like plant medicine, there's value to it, Going to these spiritual ley lines around the world, there's value to it. However, at the same time, we understand that we don't want to get distracted. So when we went to Costa Rica, for instance, we had a theme of the sacral chakra ley line. So we went there to release our sexual shame. And actually, heaps of baggage was lost. Heaps of baggage was lost during that, okay? And because we had set the intention of the container so clearly, it started to manifest the results that we were looking for. Really, it was our belief systems that manifested for us. What we believed about ourselves started to create the reality that we were in. So really start to understand for yourself these three myths. We had channeling last night for King Nixa. It was very, very powerful. He was talking a lot about changing the image, the fact that we have such a potency and a right to change the images in our mind around. There's no higher authority telling us that our memories have to be exactly like this, the way that I remember it. You're allowed to change the background, you're allowed to change the colors, and you're allowed to move that picture around to fit the narrative that you truly prefer. I think another spiritual trap is a lot of people take spirituality too serious, and they make it like almost a chore for them, okay? They make it like, oh man, this is something that I have to do. This is work, okay? Oh man, I have to do another mantra. Come on. It's like they're complaining about it, but they love it at the same time, okay? It's a love-hate. It's like a toxic relationship with spirituality, if you think about it, right? So, playfulness and fun. The divine feminine, right? Playfulness. Just playing. I think women understand that a lot. Men, we have to treat ourselves a little bit in order to be less serious, okay? Men get very narrow-minded, very serious about things. But when you can learn how to laugh it off on the spiritual journey, that's actually what will give you your sanity back, okay? Because the insanity is when you get too crippled by certain concepts that keep you from expressing the purest version of you. You go by the doctrine that everything is suffering, right? This whole planet is all suffering. I'm trapped here, and you know, my body, I have to reject my body. It's a nasty, sinful thing, okay? I was born a sinner. I'm gonna be punished anyway, so I might as well. Do you guys understand the type of mindset is being perpetuated? Because a lot of spirituality or religions were used to keep our sense perceptions trapped. Why is there so much shame around sex and the topic of that? Right? Why can't we talk about that? Repressed things in society actually run a society. Think about this, right? So the repressed things in your mind are actually running your mind. So you might have all these great ideas about what you want to do on your spiritual journey, but right now it's just, you feel scattered, right? You feel scattered. It's like, I'm doing a little bit of this, I'm doing a little bit of that, but nothing is really giving me the flow, the momentum that I truly want to create for myself. Okay, I would say it really comes down to you making a decision for yourself, okay, and what spirituality really means to you, right? So something that we heard last night is this understanding that don't use spirituality as an escape, because you can't escape who you are, and you are spirit. So that's such a powerful understanding, guys. And as I say that, there's a little cat over there. Let's go, okay? Very, very powerful and key to understand these things, man. So don't be a tourist. Don't just blindly trust a teacher. And number 3, make sure that you're not keeping yourself so stubborn that it must be like this. This spiritual teaching is the Holy Grail. It's everything to me, okay? And then you spend your entire life just in that world. You don't dimension hop. You don't explore outside of your circle, your comfort zone, the spiritual comfort zone, okay? So this is very, very key, man. Very, very important. Because if you can find ways to overcome these 3 things, and we help you overcome these 3 things at Primal Sutra. So if you set up a session with us, myself, the channeler, the facilitator Ryan G, who's going to help us during the channeling sessions, and also the healing. The healing is very, very powerful as well. So very, very key, very, very powerful. Okay, so tap into these healing codes, tap into these teachings. I'll be seeing you guys later. I hope you have an incredible day today. Hope this video awakens something within you today. Let's get it upward spiral. May we never be the same again. Let's go. I'll see you on the other side, hosts.